Let's see now the small intestine. And for the small intestine, it has two major functions. The digestion, this is one. Here it neutralizes the acid from the stomach, it adds digestive enzymes and bile, and it breaks down the protein, carbohydrates, and lipids to absorbable materials or monomers, and we will see that. And then, after digesting these different nutrients, it will absorb them. In order to be able to do this, it has some modifications, and we will talk about this in a second. But before that, we need to understand that small intestine is very long, and because of its length, it has three different parts. Duodenum, most of the digestion is happening here. This is the first part. Then we have the jejunum and the ileum. Here we have the reabsorption. Now, as we said, the small intestine is mainly for absorption. So it has large surface area for absorption. And this large surface area is being made through adaptation in the mucosal layer, which again increase the surface area to facilitate absorption. So what are these adaptations? The first one is the large folds. As you can see, there are folds here. So because of these folds, we will have large space that the food would come in contact with comparing to a flat surface. Because of these folds, now we can adopt more areas that the digestion or the absorption can happen there. So this is the first one. The second one, that within these folds, as you can see, there are these finger-like structures. These are called the villi. This is the villi. So this is the second modification. So even the food can go between these villi, as you can see here, between these villi. The third adaptation is that the cells making the villi, they have even microvilli on their surface, on their apical surface. So even the food can pass between these tiny microvilli. All are again adaptations to increase the surface area or the surface contact between the small intestine, or technically the mucosal layer, and the food within the lumen. Now we said in the small intestine it mixes enzymes coming from the pancreas and the liver. So let's talk about the pancreas. Pancreas, it has two functions, exocrine and endocrine function. We will talk about the endocrine function later, but let's see now the exocrine function. Exocrine function represented by secreting some digestive enzymes and sodium bicarbonate. Now, bicarbonate is important because it will neutralize the stomach acid. Remember, the stomach acid is its pH around 2 because of HCl. Now, this is extreme acidity. If it goes to the small intestine or even to the large intestine, it will destroy it. So we need to bring this pH toward more neutral value. This will happen through the bicarbonate, a secretion from the pancreas, and partially from the pancreas, and the other part we will see it from the liver. So this is the role of the bicarbonate. The other type of secretion is the digestive enzymes. Here we have several types of enzymes. Each one is responsible for breaking certain type of nutrients. Proteases like trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase, these are for protein. Pancreatic amylase, this digests starch, part of the carbohydrate. And lipase will digest lipids. So these are three different types of enzymes breaking down three different types of nutrients. This table summarizes the major enzymes of digestion, whether it's for carbohydrates or proteins or lipids. their source, where do they meet the food, and what type of substance they digest, and what is the result. So take a look on this table. Make sure that you are aware of the pepsin, trypsin, chymotrypsin, the amylase in general, okay, the lipase. Make sure that you know the source, where do they act, and what substance they digest. The other accessory organ is the liver. The liver produces the bile. Okay, this is the liver. It's responsible for producing the bile. And the bile is very important because it helps in digesting lipids. And technically it's not digesting, it's emulsifies lipids, and we will understand what does this mean. So liver would produce the bile, and the bile would be stored in the gallbladder. So it stores and concentrates bile. The other part, or the other important function of the liver, is that it drains the blood from the small intestine, the large intestine, from the stomach, from the pancreas, from the spleen. All of the wastes and byproducts, any absorbed materials from the intestine, for example, from the stomach, it will be drained into the liver through the hepatic portal vein before it goes to the vena cava. So what does this mean? It means that any material being absorbed either in the small intestine or large intestine or in the stomach, and these materials, remember, these are coming through food, coming from outside. So it might contain some toxins, it might contain some germs, bacteria, microorganisms. So before we put them into the systemic circuit, before we put them directly into the blood, the liver would examine them, filtrate, neutralize, detoxify all of these materials to make sure that what goes into the blood is safe for the rest of the body. So the liver is playing a very important role in this case. Alcohol, for example, is handled by the liver, and that's why people with drinking problem, the first organ is affected is their liver, because it will get exhausted by continuous working to detoxify alcohol. The large intestine is receiving the food or the nutrients or the chyme from the small intestine, so it will help in absorbing remaining nutrients and water, and it will temporarily store and eliminate wastes. The large intestine is made out of several parts. We have the cecum, we have the colon, which is made out of ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, all of these parts of the colon, and then the sigmoid colon. Then we have the rectum, and we have the anus, which is the exiting point. Also, I forgot to mention, before or a shot of the cecum, we have the appendix. Okay, we have the appendix. This is the appendix. Sorry. I'm really sorry. This is the appendix. This is the small intestine. This is the appendix. Okay, so it's a shot of the cecum. Let's see now how some nutrients are absorbed. We talked about 4 major categories of, or actually we talked about only 3. There is another 4th one. 3 major categories of nutrients: amino acids and monosaccharides, both are being absorbed through the same way, which is breaking down the products of proteins into amino acids, then absorb these amino acids. For the carbohydrates, making them or breaking them into monosaccharides, then absorb them. As you can see, these are the carbohydrates, these are the proteins. We'll convert the proteins into amino acids, the carbohydrates into monosaccharides, and then absorb them directly. For the lipids, it's a different story. We have the fat and we have the bile salt. The bile salt will come and surround the fat, and this is a process called emulsion. So we will emulsify the fat, making it think of it like in smaller pieces, okay? And these smaller pieces will be easier to be reabsorbed by the intestine cells. Once they are inside the cells, they will be transformed into three glycerides. We'll add some proteins to them, and we will deliver them to the lymphatic system. Because these are large molecules, blood capillaries cannot take them. So the lymphatic system will take care of them. This is how the fat is being absorbed. Then of course we have the water, we have vitamins, minerals, all of them would be absorbed through different ways. Water would be absorbed by osmosis, vitamins and minerals would be absorbed through vacillated diffusions. They need their certain carriers to absorb them. This is a video about the digestive system. Please watch it. I will stop here and we will come back to the nutrition part.